Hello, friends. Joining me today is electronic music duo consisting of producer Daniel James and vocalist/songwriter Brittany McQuinn. Fresh off a performance at Folly Fest, where they absolutely killed it. Check them out at any festival this summer. They seem to be playing just about every one of them. So without further ado, please give it up for Bleum.
Living a dream. 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 Living a dream.
All right. So I'm here with the band Bleum, and you guys are, would you say you're based out of Fredericton?
Yeah,
Do you guys want to introduce yourself?
sure. So my name is Brittany McQuinn, and I've lived in Fredericton actually my whole life. And I'm trying to think what else to say right off. I've been making music for, I guess, that's always one of those fun things to talk about. I guess really I remember my first song coming to me when I was like 5 or 6, but only really decided to try to do music as a career probably in 2015, 2016-ish. And then that's right around the time that Dan and I started working together, actually. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Daniel, music producer. I live in Fredericton right now. I've lived in Halifax, Rossay, St. Andrews, PEI, all over the place. I played my first show just on King Street there.
What was the name of the venue?
I think it was just called The Basement. It was below like a liquor store on King Street. It was an all-ages venue.
What year was that?
2006,
Oh,
2005, 2006.
Nice.
Yeah. Shout out Coastline Records. Yeah. So I played in a rock band for about 5 years called the Bell Comedians, also out of Fredericton. We did some stuff around there. After we broke up, I got into producing electronic music, and through a mutual friend, we met and started making music together.
Nice.
So,
What did you do with Bell Comedians?
I played keyboards.
Keyboards?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the Bell Comedians.
Yeah, me too.
So
Parts of it, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Bell Comedians.
What are those guys doing now?
All sorts of stuff. Adam, who was the drummer in the Bell Comedians, is actually the drummer in Bleum in our live
Yeah.
band. Super awesome to have him. So he still lives in Fredericton. Willow is he produces his own like kind of funk electro music and lives in Montreal. Scott Mallory also lives in Montreal and is taking an electro acoustics course in university there. And Ben Ross is out west somewhere, I think, working with the elderly or something.
Nice.
Sorry if I got that wrong, Ben.
Well, shout out to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Love them.
So how long have you been producing?
Electronic music or
Yeah.
music generally?
Both.
Okay, well, I mean, technically, like, I made my first electronic thing in high school when I got an electronic drum kit, and just, like, you'd hit a pad and it would trigger loops, and I would loop those loops and kind of play around. And I dabbled in it, but I really got sidetracked with the Bell Comedians, and electronic music fell to the wayside. But so it was basically after they broke up in 2014, I really started getting into it because I had all this newfound time on my hands, and moved back to St. Andrews and just spent like 2 years learning how to do it as well as I could. And so how long is that? 5 years now?
Yeah.
That I've been going pretty hard at it. Still learning.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then, so you've been singing your whole life and then just kind of actually got into playing and writing music recently? Is that?
Well, I guess it was always like the song, like singing and songwriting were always kind of linked. So I'm the singer-songwriter, right?
Right.
So I think I wrote my first like full song when I was 14, and it was like a moment of like heartbreak, and there was a piano, and I just could, so I did, and I realized how good it felt. You know, it
Right.
felt amazing to do that. And then I got a guitar and started playing with that. I just got my hands on whatever I could. Always been like a pop person, so I've kind of gone with what pop is. You know, there's different areas of pop, and sometimes you're like, you really like the style or you don't. But I kind of seem to like it, whatever's going on with pop. So so I started recording an album actually in 2010. And then it went on for like, it was like a backseat type of thing. I was doing a university degree in psychology, and then it was like, oh, I should really finish that. So I finished it in 2015. It was like a folk pop album. And then, and then once that kind of wound down a little bit, I did a few shows. And one of them Dan was at, and was like, yeah, you would be decent with like electronic pop. We should try this. And then that's really how this dynamic kicked off, I guess.
Yeah.
We like knew each other.
We knew each other.
We knew each other,
and then
made
I went
music.
to a show.
Yeah.
And you did like, you were doing some like pop covers.
Chainsmokers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like,
Don't Let Me Down.
I didn't know.
Nice.
I didn't know that. We should work together.
Yeah, mutual.
You sent me a vocal track the next day, and I made like a remix. And
Yeah, I was actually doing a show here at Taco Pica in St. John, and I went into that famous green bathroom where everyone takes the
Ooh,
selfies, and I
nice.
listened right like this, and I'd never heard my own voice with like an electronic production behind it, and it was blowing my mind, and I had to do a show, and I was like, I can't even think. Like, I just want to like not do the show. I just want to go make music right now in St. Andrews or wherever you were. So I was like, we have to talk the whole drive back from St. John. I listened to it like on repeat because I was trying to get into my head like how crazy it was.
Right.
And I felt like the old me died and the new me came to life at that
The
point.
rebirth.
I felt that for sure. I think you kind of felt that too.
yeah.
We just had this, I don't know, working together. We make music so fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, what people tend
Yeah.
to say is like, you guys make music so fast. Like a couple hours, we've got a song.
We're
Pretty
both
well done.
like high output creatives.
Volume.
Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? We don't.
Yeah.
We just I don't want to say quantity over quality, but if you put enough out, if you make enough, some of them are going to be good.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's
sort
kinda how
of
it's
like
worked
our
for us. Yeah.
philosophy is like
Yeah.
write as much as you can and put like, and then, you know, if every 10 out of 100 songs you write are amazing, then you've got 10 amazing songs.
You've got an album.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's sort of, I think we both sit in that pretty well. And
Yeah.
that's why it works so good.
It does.
Like we can get
Yeah.
together and make a song in like 2 hours and be like, oh,
We
this
have
is
to.
it. Yeah.
One of the last ones that we made, I remember it was just like I had like a couple hours, and before I had to like run, and we were like, well, we'll just get together and try to make a song, and then
Yeah,
it was
maybe
just
it'll
like
happen.
like one of my favorite songs we've made, and I was like, man, this is so crazy, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna play it at the festivals this summer. So so it's pretty rewarding. It's felt easy in that regard. So yeah.
Nice. So the first, you said it was one of your solo songs that he remixed, or was it like,
Yeah.
was it a cover or was it an original?
Well, it was one of the songs from my folk pop album. I just gave him the vocal track because I had it, right? He's like, just send me a vocal track. And then,
Oh, nice.
so I sent it, and he didn't have any of the music, so it sounded totally different, but that was part of the fun.
I think it was even like
Yeah.
lined up incorrectly. Like I
Oh,
didn't,
totally, but
I
I
didn't
didn't
do like
care.
the right part at the right time. But it
Didn't
was
care.
like whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the synergy was there regardless. But
Yeah, it's true.
definitely worked.
Yeah,
Nice. What was the name of that song? Do you remember?
Tomfoolery.
Ooh, nice. Do
Yeah.
you still have a copy of it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is it something that could be made public?
Maybe, I don't know. We'd have to listen to it again.
Yeah,
It's been
let
an
me
awful
listen
long
to it.
time.
I haven't
Okay.
Let
listened to
him
it.
listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm not as like picky about mixed stuff. But I know my vocal was like okay-ish because I okayed it for an album. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, is my vocal okay? Always. So
I bet
yeah.
we could find a snippet of it.
Oh,
if we
definitely.
could do like a snippet
I
to
could-
reveal on this podcast,
I could
we
totally throw it in like right now.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cut
Yeah,
it
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Do it.
Cut it in
I
for
like
the
that
story.
idea.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's do
Awesome.
it.
Because I make you human under the sun, give you same flaws that the world draws in its existence. I give you a distance and set you a limit. I keep you within it. What's wrong with me? Why can't I be more open-minded? I can't rewind it to say I lost and pay the cost.
My voice sounds so much younger back then, and maybe other people wouldn't notice, but I think I recorded that vocal when I was like maybe 21 or 22. Actually, I might have been like 19. Yep, I think I was 19.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So how many years ago was that?
Well, I'm 27 now, so
8
several.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
So on the folk pop album, did you play guitar as well?
I wasn't confident in my guitar playing skills. It's always been more of a, like I'll do it because I don't have anyone else to do it sort of thing. If I can just have a microphone and sing, that's usually when I'm happiest. So far, that could change down the road. So no, I got someone else to play guitar on it. So
What about live?
live, I used to play guitar. Yeah. Just really simple stuff. I was never trying to impress or anything like that. I just wanted to sing. I just wanted to
something
like
for
share.
the vocals to accompany.
Yeah, I just wanted
Yeah.
to share the song, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So your drummer, he's not here today. Does he just do the live stuff? Like if you guys record for the albums and stuff like that, are you producing the drums yourself?
Yes.
Cool.
For the, yeah, actually, almost entirely. And then once things will change a little bit because some of our songs are unreleased, and then when we're tweaking them live, we'll change a couple little things just to make it feel right live, and I'll go back and fix them in the actual song. But yeah, most of what we do is just either sending stuff over the internet or getting in a room together, and I'm making the music and she's doing the vocals.
Yeah.
Sometimes she writes the chord progressions as well. But
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you were playing solo, did you have a name for your act, or was it just
Yeah.
just
Well, I had an artist name for a little while, and this feels like so long ago. I don't even remember. Whisper
let's hear it.
Roaring was what it was.
what was it?
Whisper Roaring. And that's part of why I
Whisper
ditched
Roaring.
it, because I always had to repeat it.
Oh yeah, whisper roaring.
Yeah, and then I just...
It's
and
one
then
word.
People, well, two. But then people were like, we just want, you to just be yourself, or people would kind of tease me about it or whatever. And I just thought, well, and especially around here where everyone already knew me as Brittany McQuinn, I was like, let's just go back to that. So I
Yeah.
did.
Cool.
I had that for like maybe half a year to a year, somewhere between there.
Nice.
I was trying it out.
Yeah,
You got to try a lot of things out with music,
of course. See what
Yeah.
sticks.
See what
100
works.
songs?
See what
Yeah.
you can represent
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
100 songs for
we
10?
were just talking about that on the way down too. Because we've done so many different things
Yes, we have.
together before Bloom happened,
That's
and then
true. Yeah.
Bloom happened, and it was like, oh, this is the one that people are actually responding to.
So what'd you do before?
I had a project when I first moved back to Fredericton called Hands,
Okay.
where I was like doing vocals and doing very similar to like what Bloom is, like dark pop music. And,
But just you.
yeah, but
I
she was
featured
on
on
one.
it.
She was on one of the
Oh,
songs
nice.
that I released, but it just like I don't have a good enough voice and songwriting to do a full project. But I gave it a shot for a little while. But mostly it just helped me. It's something to spur on my production interest. Is like that's why I was doing it. But then yeah, and
Yeah.
I produced her solo EP that came out.
Yeah,
last
we
year.
haven't talked about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this started as like I was already doing my, singer-songwriter thing. And then it was like, well, Dan will just produce music for me. And it works a lot better when we have when we're kind of equals, I guess. I don't really, there's lots of reasons why, but Bloom, for me as a singer-songwriter, you kind of imagine that like there's this person that people expect you to be, and then you sort of fill that role. But with Bloom, it could be whatever we wanted. And so at least on my end, I was able to get out of my rhythm a little bit and start to try something different. And in that, I've rediscovered who I am. which has been really good. So Bleum has helped me bloom, I guess. But but yeah, I think for me, like being able to just let whatever happen instead of needing it to be a certain way. And also you have like a really specific style of production that, and you want to feel fulfilled, I think, too, by what you're doing. So I think that for us to be like, you know, we're both feeling like this is our sound is really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was about breaking away from, like, I think there was like expectations of what your solo project would be
There
and
were,
how
yeah.
far it would potentially go in whatever direction. So I think just breaking away from that kind of freed us up. And like Bleum is changing all the time. So
Yeah.
Bleum started with a totally different idea of what it would be, and it's continuing to evolve. Like we are by no means like at the end of the,
No, it just keeps
you know what I mean?
changing.
Like it's yeah. And
Yeah.
we're very careful about like not putting too much out and letting us evolve behind the scenes while we're doing the live stuff. And like the live show was not what we expected to be generating so much interest. We were expecting to try and make it on the internet or whatever, but we started playing live shows and people responded to it. So we've put more
Yeah.
energy into that. That has influenced the music, and
That's true.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've ended up kind of favoring songs that we know people will want to dance to. Even though we can definitely make slow music. That's what
Yeah.
we've made mostly
Yeah.
for the past 3 years
and
or however long.
we've got a lot of those kicking around too.
Yeah, but where it's like we want where we know we're doing a lot of shows, we want what we create. We want to be able to play it. So I think we just naturally are like wanting to write more dance stuff
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we want to play it. You know?
Yeah, the dynamic's good for a live setting as well. Like you can go with the dancey song and then slow it down, back up. It
Yeah.
really engages the crowd.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
exactly. Yeah, that's
True.
always been my philosophy is if you have the time and you can capture the audience's attention enough, it's more about sending them on a journey that's not always the same.
Right.
But that being said, if people don't know who you are, and you only have 30 minutes, sometimes it's just good to go bangers for 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
True.
But yeah, if you like go to see Radiohead or something like that, you love those valleys and you love the peaks. But
Yeah. Well, the contrast makes each.
yeah, you don't know what's loud
Yeah.
until you hear quiet.
If
right?
if you go quiet, the next loud song is that much louder. And
Exactly.
then the next quiet one has that much more impact.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Just,
yeah, like what was it? Mad Max Fury Road. That movie was like 150%,
Balls to the wall.
and then there was like one quiet moment, and it was like, oh
Intense.
wow, I forgot about like quiet. I
Quietness.
can't remember these. It's like somebody, I think, was it Charlize Theron in that movie, and Tom Hardy. Anyway, I think it was like she was hurt or something, and it was just like one moment of silence, and I was like, whoa, felt that. So that's just like
Cool.
Yeah.
the ultimate version of that. But yeah, I agree with you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So now that knowing that with the live performance and knowing that you want the bangers and the dancey stuff, does that affect your songwriting process?
I think it does, yeah, a little bit. Like I said, it's definitely informing it, but not like entirely. I think, yeah, when we construct an album, if we ever get to that point, that's when I think we'll start to explore more of the quiet stuff again. But I think definitely right now, where it's so fresh and our new, like the live iteration of us being a 3-piece and having a light show and being more of a dance act just started in January. So it's super fresh and it's going pretty well. And right now it's definitely informing the music we're writing. But I wouldn't expect that to last forever.
Yeah.
I have no idea where we'll be in a year. Like, that's how I feel about this project. I don't know what music we'll be making in a year.
What is the hope? Is there any aspirations?
I mean, yes and no. I think like I love dancing, so do you. That's why we make this music. I love pop music, so for me the goal is to like be a great pop act, and it's something that I've kind of always wanted to do. Whether that means we're playing this type of show or that type of show, I'd love to land in a place where we have, and we talk about this, like where we have, down the road we've got the fans that know who we are, what they can expect, and that they can expect to come out and have like an amazing, emotional, like high energy, like time. I guess that's kind of what I picture for Bleum.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the main goal, and then whatever that looks like is going to iron itself out over the next few years, I think.
Yeah, we very much have like a go with the flow kind of attitude towards it. If people are responding to a certain thing, like we're going to lean into that a little bit, and however that shows up, like we'll go with it. I definitely, personally, I want us to push the envelope of weirdness and like, I don't know how else to say it, but like
What you
like
expect, maybe?
Well, like aggressive, like a little bit aggressive, a little bit darker and weirder. Like,
Well, you
I'd
mentioned
like,
Radiohead, so is Tom York a big inspiration for you?
he definitely was growing up. Like now, I mainly listen to electronic music because I'm super into it and I'm like studying the production. But definitely, like Radiohead was one of my favorite bands growing up. I often think back to like Nine Inch Nails. I would say Nine Inch Nails would be like my first electronic music inspiration. So that like industrial sound is something that's starting to show up in like some unreleased Bleum stuff, like a little bit more distortion, a little bit more like just like an edgier sound and darker.
If every effort that I make could turn to something I want, I complicated, sure I wouldn't you say I'm not wrong? It's all accounted for, yet I'm left wanting more. If daily practice was enough, wouldn't I look like a god by now? Someone people write about moving on a high, you're playing, looking down on earth, no pain. Don't tell me that it can't be proven. I wanna be a superhuman. I wanna be a superhuman. I think no problem, I can do everything others can do, and maybe more. In fact, if all the things I'm sure of are true, then I come crashing down when no one is around. Keep up that attitude of it's all good, yeah, good with me. I got what it takes to be everything for everyone, making sure they all have fun. Don't tell me that I'll end in ruins. I wanna be a superhuman. I wanna be a superhuman. Take me home. I feel like something's wrong. I'm not a superhuman. Take me home. I feel like something's wrong. I wanna be a superhuman. Superhuman. Superhuman.
Yeah, so that's happening already. It's not something
Right.
that is going to happen. It's already happening. Most people haven't heard the songs where that's happening on, but I'm quite happy that it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether that lasts until next year, I don't know. But that's
That's
definitely
exciting.
where we're going.
It's exciting for me to hear.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think people
industrial
around
side,
here.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think people around here will definitely like some of the newer stuff in that it's a bit of a divergence from like future-based pop dance stuff, which is mostly what we've released so
And
far.
it's atypical for this area too. You don't have a lot of electronic industrial acts,
No, yeah.
if any, that I can think of really. And like,
No, not really. I mean, there's like Wangle Tab, shout out Wangle Tab, but that's like break beats,
yeah,
like Aphex Twin and stuff like that.
right.
But yeah, I mean, electronic music in New Brunswick is a little bit rare to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Not many people are making like pop music here, which is
And if
arguably
they are, they're not
what
doing
we're
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're not living here. Or they
Right.
moved away or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're kind of and then to add that we have a live performance with like a light show, I think is just another thing that makes us a little unique around here. And I think that's what people have responded to. That whole combination of
Yeah.
things makes us a little unique. I'm not saying we're special, but
So how does the light show work? Do you have a lighting director, or do you just have something set up to run off the beats?
it is triggered by an iPhone. And it's this company from Toronto called Nanoleaf light panels. They're little triangles, and we put them on cardboard and spelt out our name. So each panel is made up of a bunch of these Nanoleaf light panels that spell BLEUM. And then from an iPhone, it just gets tapped. There's a color palette, and you literally just tap on the iPhone, and it strobes the lights. Super simple. Shout out Nanoleaf light panels.
Yeah.
So many shout outs in this.
Looking for a sponsorship?
Yeah. Hey, we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like an amazing, for what we got, we didn't spend that much money on it.
Compared to other systems that we've like had our eye on, it was really affordable, and so that's kind of how we used the money that we made last year from shows. It was like to just make a better
Reinvest.
show.
Reinvest,
That's
for
kind
sure.
of how we see this,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely not making any money right now. Most of it's going back into like improving things, and we still
What's
have
the
a long
business,
ways
right?
to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've got one thing I really want to do is start making music videos, but it costs money, and so we've got a lot of growing to do. It's very fresh. But yeah, the light panels were a great thing. And I stumbled upon them because I was nerding out about like smart home gadgets. So I was looking at, I have like all smart light bulbs in my house and a home pod.
He does.
I just like,
It's an incredible experience to go in there. We put the lights on when we did like photos one time, and those are
Yeah.
like the photos that we use. The
Yeah,
fog
it was
machine, man,
awesome.
that was great.
whenever I'm making music, I'll like put some blue light on or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just stumbled upon these. I was like, these would be great for a live show. And then slowly the idea panned out to spell the name, and
Slowly, you kept going back and buying more.
Yeah,
You kept getting
that's
more
true.
texts
It-
like,
it-
"Can I buy more?" And then yes,
yeah. I've
until
got
it spelled Bloom.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's worked out. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's a great little thing.
So you mentioned Nine Inch Nails and Radiohead as a past influence. What are you listening to now as far as like DJs and producers go?
Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish is my
Not a
favorite
DJ
right
nor a
now.
producer.
Didn't even have to think about it.
No, she's
Eilish.
Yeah, yeah. I like to think that she kind of. Well, I mean, she's so popular right now. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, she's just like the hot new thing. But I've been listening to her for quite a while. This new album is like almost perfect to me.
So
Right.
good.
Yeah, I think, and it's mostly just her and her brother. Like, it's not this huge pop enterprise. It's dark, it's weird, but it's super poppy. Yeah, and
It's right up our alley, to be honest.
like
Yeah.
like You Should See Me in a Crown sounds like a Nine Inch Nails produced song to me.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's kind of. And we were like going in this direction. I always laugh because like every time I have an idea of like something that would be cool to do, like somebody I love kind of beats me to the punch, and I feel like Billie Eilish did that a little bit with some of her stuff. But
the creepy high school thing was like what we were thinking about doing / what you were thinking about doing, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not sure. And then Billie Eilish, and then it's like, okay, cool. Not that
Yeah.
she does creepy high school, but just the horror.
the horror aspect of it. I had this
Right.
whole idea to do like, if you've ever seen like Riverdale, the show, like
Yeah.
a series of videos with like that aesthetic, based in a high school, and it would be like a horror movie. And then now she's doing like horror pop, and I was like, damn. But
Still
our
do it.
thing, the thing that makes us a little different, is like we definitely have more of a dance energy to it
It's true.
currently. So
Yeah.
We're not biting off her stuff. Mad respect. Shout out Billie Eilish.
Nice. Yes.
I wonder if she'll hear
This is out of
this.
control.
She will for sure hear
Yeah.
this.
Definitely, she's
Guarantee
listening.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's who. Like, she's my favorite right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about that much.
And on the pop side, that's more you. Who,
Yeah.
Who do you look to?
Well, I listen to her as well. Really enjoy her. This year, Ariana Grande has been big for me. Both, I mean, I really admire how she sings. I can't sing like her, and that's just a different style voice. But just the vulnerability in lyric writing, and I love the R&B aspect that she really owns it. Yeah, I just really have a lot of respect for her, and she's kind of been someone that I've enjoyed for a long time.
Yeah.
Aside from that, whenever someone asks me this question, it's like my brain goes, don't remember. I have to
it's tough.
pull up and I have to look at Spotify and be like, who have I been listening to? And to be honest with you, a lot of times it's like, I like this song, and this is something that's I've been thinking about a lot lately, how playlist culture and like streaming culture has changed how we consume music and how attached we get to artists and acts, right? So I'll be able to tell you like, oh, this song and that song, but how do I know who the artist is? Sometimes no, unless I'm
Right.
like, you know what, I should, or like
can you
maybe I'll
say-
like more.
Can you say you like that artist? Like,
Exactly.
because it's
Can I
like-
really
one song.
represent
Yeah.
this?
Right.
Yeah, because
And
it's like
some-
I like the single, you know?
I think it's good because I think one mistake people make is like they write off artists as being like, I'm not into them. I feel like people have done that for a really long time. And I've always been an advocate for like, listen to a song and decide whether you like it. Like, you can like a Miley Cyrus song even if you don't like most
Absolutely.
of Miley Cyrus. We were listening to Miley Cyrus on the way down here.
We were her new album, yeah.
I
or
actually
EP.
like most of what I've heard from her new album. But you know, like people can have this cognitive block where it's like, I've decided I don't like this artist, or it's about something other than the music.
Yeah, it's like your identity, right? So some people, and this is the way music has always been, I think, it's like if you're a music consumer, you can kind of make your identity around these are the artists and the bands that I like because I relate to this person. Like when I was a kid growing up, it was like if you were an Avril Lavigne fan, it's because you kind of you wanted to be her vibe, and so you would like own her, like even though you may not know her, right? You don't know her.
Right.
It becomes like that. Like
It's how
this
you
is-
define yourself.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's especially important for I think teenagers who are starting to figure out how to define themselves, or if you're wanting to redefine yourself, like attaching yourself to certain things in our culture, music and movies, TV, that type of thing. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So the songwriting process, is there anything that you guys do specifically to get into that, get into the mindset, or just to get loose and get inspiration?
Sometimes I just get like in a mood where I'm like this happened to me this week where I was just like I think, what was I doing? I would think I was like, I don't even know. I got inspired by something I saw on TV, and then I was like, I'm gonna write a song. And then I just went downstairs and I opened up Ableton and I made a MIDI track and then started writing music, and it was just like one of the best things ever, and I was really happy with it. That's a lot of the time. It just happens to me like that. Or someone sent me a beat and I'll write over it when it's not like I don't know. There's not like a ritual or anything like that, I guess.
Yeah.
Listen to it and see if I start hearing something.
Yeah.
Then write it down.
Right.
Yeah,
So you
for me
studied
anyway.
you studied psychology in school. So
Yeah.
does that ever leak into the songwriting process or the
For sure.
yeah?
Yeah, well, for me, it's like mental health is really important. It's something I talk about a lot with my solo stuff. So that's kind of how the psychology comes into it. And when I write songs, I'm often thinking about what kind of, I want to say like message it's sending, or, like what emotion am I writing about? And then, not, you don't want to police yourself either. But I definitely enjoy writing a song where I'm like, this is going to make someone feel like they're heard or understood. That's a big one. Just people feeling understood and seen, I think is huge. If you feel like someone's written something and the lyrics are like something you've thought or something that you haven't been able to say, or that it's kind of awkward in our culture to talk about or something, it's like, it's just so liberating. And so you just listen to the song I do over and over again because I'm like, someone gets me. So that's the biggest thing. If it happens to like be addressing mental health or something like that, like I talk about depression a lot, that's cool. We have a song that we do with Bleum actually called Visit that is just about like a dynamic between people being restored and how beautiful it is to have something that's and something that you thought was dead come like between two people come back to life, and how new isn't always better than old. It can be this really incredibly beautiful thing for something old to come back to life. I think I wrote like the lines like, is there anything better like than this kind of thing, right? I kind of see that as like a mental health song. I don't really know why. Maybe it's just because of like the feeling that people seem to get from it. People listen to it over and over, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, especially in this culture now, like everybody's so closed off with social media and technology that like the face-to-face isn't there anymore. So like,
Yeah, it's true.
that kind of, it could be like metaphorical in that sense.
Yeah, interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And society's waking up to mental health issues too, big time.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
it's true. I think our
Yes.
generation's a lot different, you know. Like it's more normal for us to talk about just mental health being a part of health. You know?
Yeah.
So that's
And I think,
it's
yeah,
important.
I think like companies are waking up to that, and everyone's, trying to take care. There's a lot of like self-care going on. But yeah, mental health is a huge thing for you. Definitely comes out in the music.
Yeah,
You're an
you noticed
advocate.
that, eh?
Yeah.
Even with Bloom stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's just kind of what I care about. I wanted to be a counselor, actually. That's why I went to school for psychology. I was like, I'm going to be a counselor.
Is that still on the table? Is that something you...
Did you finish?
Well, I
Oh,
finished
okay.
my psych degree. I thought about doing a master's in counseling and then got sidetracked with getting a job and then another job in not-for-profits, doing like social work type of work. So it was like I got like a social work job, which is very similar to counseling. Social workers do counsel. But I actually found that I was getting burnt out from like compassion fatigue type stuff.
Been there.
Just really sad situations, or like working so hard to make a situation get improved, and then the person that you're like trying to help didn't really own the change, and then because of that, like everyone around them who cares about them, their family, would just get so discouraged. But if the person who you're trying to support doesn't believe in what they're doing, then, or what you were trying to do for them, then the moment you're not holding their hand, they're gonna stop. And that was like so much of what happened. It was often driven by like the things that I would do to try to support people were driven by their mom or their sibling or their partner or something like that. So I just found with that, it was like I could do it for a period of time. When I was starting to get really exhausted from that was when we started to make electronic music, and I was like, yeah, music is so life-giving for me. I have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to. And you can also like help people through music in a really special way. So I don't see it as like I'm not doing it. I kind of see it as like I'm doing it in a different way, I guess. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you say with the compassion fatigue, because I did a similar path. I had a psych degree. I went into the social work, like with youth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I mean, like with John Howard Society.
Oh, yeah, I used to like
So,
partner
My
with
brother
them
worked for
sometimes.
John Howard Society.
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you feel good about what you're doing, but you never stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
taking work home and
Can't
just,
shut it off, eh?
And not when you can't make a difference. That it's something I really struggled with.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you sometimes there was success stories and there was no greater feeling, but then there was also the
Peaks and valleys.
Which
the
was so
peaks
much
and
of
valleys,
it, right?
yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was a lot
it's
of
a journey.
valleys.
There's a lot of like head laying on the desk moments where you're just like,
Oh yeah,
I can't. Or like you worked so hard for this one goal and then it falls apart and it's like, this has been a year.
I know.
You know.
Did you find yourself drawn to that work because of stuff that you dealt with on your own? Like,
Not so much on my own, but with, say, friends
Okay.
and people growing up through high school.
yeah.
Some mental health issues with friends and family, and so that's what sort of I switched over in second year I started with sciences and then just went into straight psychology.
Cool.
And it was for that reason.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a path
Yeah,
in
I
high
didn't-
school.
I didn't
I
really
didn't know what
either.
psychology was until I
Yeah.
got to university. And
There's
then-
a lot of paths they don't tell you about.
Yeah.
in high
Exactly.
school.
So like then when I found out about it, I was like, well, this is actually what all I think about and all I'm interested in, the brain, like
Yeah.
anything neuro related.
Yeah, me
So-
So cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I started in nursing actually. Similar
Right.
thing. My mom was a nurse, and everyone said, "Oh, you've got good
That's
bedside
where you're
manner. Be a nurse." And I got into it, and I was like, I hate this so
Yeah.
much. I just wasn't interested in the medical side, which is vital.
Absolutely. It's a big part.
So so I get that totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find you're able to apply your education even if it's not every day now? Do you find you use it in your everyday life? I suppose.
Absolutely. I have a
Yeah.
8-year-old son, and so I did a lot of child development courses, and like I
Yeah.
said, I worked with youth and things like that. So I mean, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I mean, with
It's-
relationships and family, it's
Definitely.
It's like
Psychology.
understanding people
Psychology is
and their
everything.
brains, which is like you're constantly dealing with people and their brains.
Yeah.
all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to play in a band as well, and like so when I wrote lyrics, I was always I think I went a little too far. You know what I mean? You're trying to be too metaphorical with
Right.
everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And like just like the psychedelic side of things, and like writing about psychology and the brain and how. I mean, I got way too metaphorical. It was like when you write your first song, have you ever like gone back and looked at your first lyrics that you ever wrote?
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
Do you notice how like you're almost going over the top
Yeah.
with things?
Being too vague, being like vague to the point, or for me anyway, it was like, it kind of sounds like similar to what you're saying. It was like, I think when I was at like 15, 16 writing songs, I was like, if it doesn't make sense, it's good.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
that's not actually true, because if I can assign a meaning to it, but
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't really relate to that, then it's not. Just because it's confusing doesn't mean you've written a good song.
Yeah, it's gonna have some.
It took me a few
And
years
also
to
just
get
like
past that.
don't use every single literary device available
Which
to you.
It's
Like,
true.
Songwriting is not poetry. They're both different,
Right.
kind of, or it doesn't have to be. Like,
Yeah.
So I think I have a book of poems that I wrote in high school, and it's
Yeah.
you know,
I used to do
I
the
was
same.
doing all the metaphors and like
Oh,
you
yeah, just
know, alliteration and like
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, this is fancy.
That's
true
cool.
though. It's funny that you say that. It is. You think you have to use every device.
Yeah, when like especially in song, like my favorite lyrics are just like, oh, those are words that I've said, but
Yeah.
you hear them in the context of the song and with the music and the melody, and it's like chills up your spine. Like sometimes the most simple thing can just be so beautiful in song, and that's you know, it would look like crap written down on paper, you know, or it look like okay, I guess that's okay, but
Right.
hear it in a song, it's like
Yeah,
it's amazing, you know.
for sure.
Yeah.
So as far as like songwriting goes, electronic music is sort of in the drug culture for music. So I mean, I go to a lot of live concerts, and I know that it's prevalent. I've gone to lots of festivals, so I know that the crowd expects a certain type of music when they go to these places. They indulge, but for the artist, is that something that artists use as a muse or inspiration in the writing process?
I
Like for
definitely
you?
do. I definitely do.
Yeah.
I smoke weed like pretty much before I dive into anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get crazy stoned, and I don't smoke weed like most of the time. But take a little bit, it just breaks down your self-judgment, and you'll get an idea out. And this is like the idea of just creating a lot is like, I think a lot about like the philosophy and the mental mindset you have to be in order to be a successful creative person. And a lot of it is about not like kicking down barriers and
Getting out
not
of-
getting bogged down in details and just like creating something like, and you know, you can sit there and obsess over every little thing just as you're starting a song, but like, is that fun? I'd rather have like an 8-bar loop whipped up in like the first 15 minutes, and
Right.
then later on I'll go in. So me and my friend from the Bell Comedians call it the puke and sift, where it's like I'll smoke a little bit of weed, I'll open up Ableton, and I will just dump down like a 16-bar loop with like tons of ideas. Like I'll just layer it all up, And then maybe if I'm still into it, like an hour later, I'll arrange that out into a little bit of like a verse, chorus structure. And then that, like, I'll only start really diving in and obsessing over a song after I've gotten a vocal back. And it just keeps me creating. So like I've always found weed to be extremely helpful to just like, I wouldn't want to like finish a song high on weed.
But
you know what I
usually
mean?
you like to start it that way,
Yeah,
right?
but it's just like, you know, like I think it's pretty well known at this point that it's like a creative stimulant if used the right way.
Absolutely.
And so like that's a big one for me. I know like I've done MDMA before too, and I really like hearing a song that I've written on MDMA, not in the sense of like I like it, but it's like if it feels great on Molly, it's like, you know, that's what the audience is feeling when they hear it. So it's
Exactly.
like being able to understand what that's like for me is kind of important. I don't do Molly very often, but when I do, I like to put on a track and be like, how does this feel?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just like a perspective thing. But weed for sure. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, obviously, but yeah, for me, it really helps me just break through that initial like concern of being like, this isn't good. It's like, no, when you're stoned, everything's great. It might be crap tomorrow, but like, it's better to create crap than nothing at all. You know
Well,
what
it's
I
true.
mean? Like you have to be creative every day. I'm also like, I have streaks. Like Britt and I have streaks where we'll pump out like 6 songs in a couple of weeks, or like some days I'm writing 2 beats a day, and then other times, whether it's life gets in the way or the song ideas just aren't coming, like we definitely slow down. But
there's seasons for sure.
Yeah.
We had a long like time where it was just us writing all the time and no one was hearing anything. And now the shows, I find that what's happening is we're so busy with the shows and show prep that it's not as much of a priority to be writing, but for like practical reasons. But I feel it when we haven't written, or if I haven't written anything. I just feel like off balance inside, and so it's like just something that I want to make sure that we're able to keep doing, because it's it's like the release part. And then when we do the show, it's like you're sharing like, hey, this is this cool thing that we feel, and now you feel it, and this is great.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being like, I find like I don't want to get into a mindset of like I'm doing this just to feed you something. It's like I'm doing it to like feed me and us all. So
I guess I'm just not into ultimatums. But if we must, I can try to explain it. It goes like thought, then act, then better things. Please tell me you're listening, 'cause I'm tiring of the same old conversation. I assume you tell me, and I guess that's okay. I got everything that I need to get by in my own head. But if you wanna hold me, wanna join me, come on in. There's room for you, just know I need you to be cool to flex. Question: the permanent new fluid, can it be the same? 'Cause it's been true for me. I changed direction, but it doesn't seem new. This is how I flow, I want you in, but I need you to move with me. I need you to move with me. I need you to move with me.
yeah,
It's kind of weird the fog your brain will get in if you're a creative person and you don't create for a while.
that's a
And
great way to put it.
everybody like sinks into it every now and again, and it's not something that you should like hate yourself for, but it's weird. Like I can go a couple weeks and I'll just all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I haven't made a beat in a couple weeks. And it's like, no wonder I feel kind of crappy.
Yeah.
I should go make a beat and love it. And I always love it, and it makes me happy. And, you know, like I said, I might hate that beat tomorrow, but it really, just doing that brings me up. And, yeah, you can totally get into a fog if you're not doing it all the time. But also, if you're not feeling it, you don't have to force yourself.
That's
to,
true.
Yeah.
You know, if any creatives out there, it's like, don't hate on yourself if you're not producing a song every day.
Yeah. I like the metaphor puke and sift.
Yeah.
I like,
Puke and sift.
yeah.
It's good.
Get everything out, and then you can find what's good through
Yeah.
that.
Also, the other thing is, like, if I have any piece of recommendation for somebody who makes music or produces, is like, be willing to let your ideas go. So that's part of the puke and sift. Like, if you puke and some of the puke is pukey, get rid of it.
Yep, clean
and
that up.
don't be super scared about that. I learned that from a producer who I love called Crane, who makes kind of like trappy future-based stuff. And somebody was like, what's the most important tool, or what's the most important piece of gear you have or software? And he was like, the delete key. And I was like, that's amazing. That is
that's
so
powerful.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I've heard a lot. Like, I like to read up on, like, what people's thoughts are about how to be successful. And that's always been a huge one, is, like, don't be scared to get rid of an idea. Like, and then that Marie Kondo show came out. And I was like, so I started saying, if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. Yeah. So sometimes I do that to a fault. And Brittany will be like, you had a good idea there, and you deleted it. But
Yeah, it used to happen a lot more
Yeah.
at the start especially. But there was a push and pull there because I think as a default setting, I tend to like stick to something when it just because I'm used to it. And so
I'm
that's
the
how
opposite.
I started. Yeah, so when we started working together, we were probably in opposite places there, where I was a little bit more comfortable with like being more, I don't know, traditional is not the right word, but just kind of sticking with something because it was the first thing, and that therefore it was the real thing.
Well, you have the
so you have to
mindset.
get rid of that.
Like, if something doesn't work, let's make it work. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the psychology of it. Like, let's take something that is troubled and let's make it awesome.
yeah.
Don't just give up on something. Like,
Yeah,
That you know what?
that's
That's
interesting.
probably what it is.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
right? I
I
mean,
never thought about that.
It's kind of the way I tend to see things is like you work through or whatever. But that being said, creativity and like writing a song is not. It's not a relationship or a sibling that you care about or something. It's
Right.
like it's you expressing what's happening inside. And if you hold yourself to be like, this is what I express, that's just restricting and unhealthy, right? So
Yeah. And sometimes your first idea just isn't really that great. Like, and that's
Yeah.
something that's important to understand, is that not every single thing you do is going to be like absolute fire.
right.
I think part of the reason it's not happening now is because I think we're just getting better, and the first
Yeah.
ideas are getting better. So
true.
I'm finding myself like, what we'll do is like, we'll write a song, it'll exist as a demo for like a really long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I try and think of it as like, if I'm still into that 2 months later, then that's probably a really good song. But if I'm not, and I find I want to change a bunch of stuff about it, then that means maybe it wasn't that great. So yeah, but right now, like, our songs are just coming out better. We're getting better. So I feel like there's a little bit, I definitely have the impulse to like overhaul a song entirely less than I used to.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm more
That's
proud
cool.
now of the music we've ever made that none of you have ever heard. So.
the
Someday.
few things this year,
This
yeah.
summer.
Guys,
They'll
it'll
hear
come.
it this summer.
Yeah.
It won't
Yeah,
be too
if you come to the
long.
festivals, you will hear 3 brand
3 or
new
4.
songs that I think 3, that
Yeah.
we've never played live.
Yeah.
And they're bangers. Yeah.
Nice. It's good to have that sort of opportunity, because starting out when you're trying to write songs and you don't have a lot of material, that's when you kind of hang on to things that don't work, because you're
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, we
But
need
we
this.
need this.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need this. We don't have anything else.
And we're not there
Right.
anymore at all.
So
Like we must be going on like 100 demos sitting around.
yeah, so when you
It's
have that
getting
mindset,
up there, yeah. It's
Yeah.
getting up there for sure.
that's good. So no plans for an album, or
not as of yet.
No?
No.
It still feels too early, to be perfectly honest. We're still, we very much go with what seems to like we'll see opportunities and we'll be like yes or no, and I think we're really good with our instincts with Bleum of going like this is the right time for this and this is not the right time for this, which has worked in our favor. And I think with an album, it's a really big commitment to a sound and like a story or whatever it is. There's a whole vision, and also streaming. It's so different now. At our stage, I feel like to decide that we want to do an album, it would be more of a emotional, creative decision because it does something for us than it would be like a wise business move. And we're actually, I think, totally content doing singles.
Yeah.
So it works
I think
really
in
well.
this day and age, like you don't need to do an album. So there's no reason to just like release a bunch of songs together unless you're going to write like it should be an album at this point.
Like with a vision and
yeah.
like a
I don't know.
like something like it influences the
It's
tour.
not just a
and,
compilation
like,
of your songs, right?
Yeah.
So like
I like
the
that
way,
idea.
if we could go on any path, like my favorite path would be we release singles for a while. Eventually they actually catch some attention. And then maybe there's like a label out there or something that wants to pick us up. They release the singles that we've written as an EP and then give us money to make an album. That would be, if I could do it that way, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for us we'd have to put a lot of time and effort into writing a full record, and I would take it very seriously. And we just, with where we are right now, we don't really have the time or the money to dedicate that level of attention to a big project.
Right.
But we can make singles till the cows come home.
It is
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Especially with streaming culture, like you said, people grab one song and then they move on to another,
Yeah.
like
It's
just like a
the
playlist.
way, it's just the way it is. I was actually just listening to a podcast about this, about how streaming's changed how music is being created. Even like songs are getting shorter because there's a certain, like, you need statistically for people to listen for X amount of time. If it's a shorter song, you're more likely to hit that percentage amount. That's why songs are less than 3 minutes a lot these days. And it's just, and in order, it's all algorithm stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it's sad if that's the reason why you're doing something and the only reason why. But the other thing is, we've just been making songs lately that like we're like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, we're good.
I like
So it's
listening
kind of
to-
freeing.
Yeah, I've allowed my attention span to get like shorter for music, and I don't mind it at all.
Yeah.
Like, I love a song that leaves me wanting more of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather
Yes.
listen to a song twice. It's
Or-
like
or
what you were
50 times.
We were talking about podcasts. Like, you were like, people would probably want to listen to 2 30-minute podcasts rather than one hour podcast. And
It's
I'm
true.
like, that's kind of the way I feel about music. It's like, if I get to an end of a 2.5 minute song and I'm like, I want to play that again. That was so good. That's
Right.
better than a song being 3.5 to 4 minutes. And by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Personally, if I hear the same chorus like a fourth time in a song or something, it's like, yeah,
absolutely.
okay, like I get it. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me anymore. It doesn't even feel like, anyway, so.
Yeah. So the focus is the live show. So this summer, what's on the docket?
Festivals.
So like in my mind, and it's probably because I'm like a songwriter and like I like stories. So I'm like, this is the summer of 7 festivals.
Alliteration.
Alliteration.
Shout
Of
out
course.
alliteration.
Summer of 7 shows.
I like 7 festivals, or yeah, shows, but festivals sounds more like
Sets.
whimsical or
There's
something.
still a lot of S's in festivals.
Summer of
so.
7 sets.
Yeah,
Sets.
that's true. So but the first one was Paddle Fest.
Yep.
There's one I think that isn't announced, but
Shout out Luke McDonald.
Yeah,
Shout out
absolutely.
Luke
He's my
McDonald.
cousin.
He was the
He's not
first-
a retired murderer, but he does run Paddle Fest.
Yeah, he did
That's
the
an
first
inside joke.
episode of this podcast. Like,
Oh, he did?
the rebirth of
I
it.
feel like I
Okay,
knew
sweet.
this. I
Yep.
saw that he posted about it online or something.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. So we have so we did Paddle Fest. That was the kickoff, and then there's been this big gap in between. Now there's Follies coming right up. Folly Fest. What's after that? One that we cannot say because it's not announced. And then there's
Come on.
and then there's listen, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then contract is on
I
its way
feel
to
like
my
I'm in
email
the
right
Avengers
now.
right now.
We have secrets, folks. And then there's Future Forest, Evolve, and then there's Pokalogan Camp Party. Is there anything I'm missing
Area
right now?
506.
Area 506.
Here in
Nice.
St. John.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're
That's
playing
our
there
summer
Sunday
of
night.
7 festivals. So,
Yeah.
I didn't count 7.
I know because one was a secret. One was a secret and one was already passed.
Because
Nice.
Iron Man dies.
God.
Spoiler alert.
If you don't know that by now.
Yeah.
Then you don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anything else you guys want to plug before we wrap it up?
No, just, if you're interested in what you hear, follow us on our socials. And
Yeah, we try to keep things up to date on Instagram and Facebook. Mostly, we don't have a Twitter. But we're on all the streaming platforms.
Just
so.
at Bleum.
Bleum, Bleum.
Yeah.
People always ask, "Is that Bloom?" I'm like, "Well, yes, but no O's."
yeah.
French
It's
word,
pronounced
blue
Bleum.
with an M.
Nice.
Yeah, so people can find us on there, and also don't be shy if anyone's listening and they want to reach out and say hi. We'll say hi back. We are communicators, so
Awesome.
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
for
having
having
us.
us. This was
It's our
awesome.
first podcast.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for doing it.
It's
And
great.
I love podcasts.
Yeah, so do I.
So you get to listen to yourselves.
That's true. Yeah. Be like, this sounds like
I
a
hate
good
my
one.
voice, though, so.
We all do.
Everybody
Yeah, I know,
hates their
everyone does.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Awesome.
this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't visit when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. I didn't visit when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. Not that I didn't miss you, but you weren't then who you are now. I didn't visit when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. I grieved you, cause I had to. You let me let you go, as if you never knew me. I need to reassess you. In all that time alone, you didn't die, you grew in. I made peace with you, I was glad to. I watched you let me go, as if you never loved me. Hurt'll teach you, it'll reach through beyond what I could do. Here you are looking at me. I didn't visit when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. You didn't listen when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. When I said listen to that high-pitched sound, she said you couldn't tell. I felt so different from you, so I stepped back, but I always wished you well. I grieved you, cause I had to. You let me let you go, as if you never knew me. I need to reassess you. In all that time alone, you didn't die, you grew in. I made peace with you, I was glad to. I watched you let me go, as if you never loved me. Hurt'll teach you, it'll reach through beyond what I could do. Here you are looking at me. I didn't visit when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. You didn't listen when you lived in that house, but now you've moved on. Did you ever we'd feel love again.